May I ask you something?
That's a question I can answer.
A foghorn to navigate and warn others at sea.
It should have a warning to cover your ears.
Bloodied bandages. Has someone been hurt?
Where would a champion hide a key?
The champion's whirlpool. Pools bread and butter. I hope Paul is more skilled at yachting than he is at hiding keys. Bloodied bandages. To earn big, you have to spend big. Old betting slips. Paul always bets on Whirlpool. One victory after another. Mr. Gilden wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. An interesting place for a message to a champion. An interesting place for a message to a champion. Additional earnings to sweeten the victory. A box full of darts. Each has a needle and can be loaded with drugs. An expensive set of tools for woodwork. An amateur wouldn't know how to use these. Shipbuilding, shipwright's tricks, sail weaving. Undeniably psychotropes. Not for toothache, I think. Undeniably psychotropes. Not for toothache, I think. Sails of hatred. I suppose there is something for everyone, including champions.
Hey, a word about the trilogy.
Right then, you literary expert, you, what was so important about these books? Or did you simply need some kindling?
It's inspirational. I have a plan. Are you listening?
I wish I wasn't, but I am.
So, we catch a monkey, a langur, for example, then we extract some blood from it.
What? Why?
It will make us forever young, Sherry. Page 127 of the second book.
Oh, I am so done with this.
No, wait. Then how about we make a wax statue?
I've stopped listening, John. A typical tea tin. I wonder what he has for biscuits.
Oi! Hands off my possessions before you lose your fingers. Are you illiterate? The rules are written everywhere.
Ah, Mr. Perks, the cabin boy himself.
Champion, you mean? I was right. You are illiterate. I think a couple of shiners might teach you. One last chance. Who are you?
I'm Sherlock Holmes, a friend of our mutual acquaintance, Miss Imogen.
Look, you artichoke. Imogen has no friends. Except for me.
If you must try to insult people, it's better to know the meanings of the words that you're using.
You fancy you could teach a sailor to swear? Go ahead. Show me how inventive you are.
Stand still for a moment. I'm impressed by how well a woman can handle a yacht and endure so many hardships on the open sea. The revelation of your nature could well humiliate so many rich men here, not to mention how you have broken the rules. But I understand. You've done this to forge a real career in the sport. But tell me something. Has no one asked you why you don't grow a beard?
Shh! Have you been following me? You better not be wanting to end my career, because I swear you'll regret it if I get outed.
Damn you, Paul. I'm sick of... Who's this peacock? Does he know who I am?
I definitely know who you are not. You're not a dictionary reader, at least. I wanted to see how you... pals interact with each other in your natural habitat. But I'm afraid I have to interfere.
I'm coming for you. I'm coming. I'm coming for you. I'm coming.
No more... Take a rest.
The snuff's ready. Can overcome.
Dodge this! I will end you! I couldn't miss the party. I'm coming for you.
I thought we were... It's all yours now. Go for it. It won't work this way.
I'm coming for you.
Don't bother moving. You've lost.
Give him the pepper snuff.
Dodge this! I couldn't miss the party.
Don't bother moving. You've lost.
Give him the pepper snuff.
No more crying.
The snuff's ready. And there's no reward for risking our lives.
Paul's explanation will suffice. Your fellow mariners have a strange way of showing hospitality.
They were not my friends.
Are you sure? I would rather risk my neck for someone who's at least honest and thankful.
Perhaps then don't enter someone's life and be so judgmental, pretending you're better than they are.
Then give me your perspective and allow me to see through your eyes. I tried to tell you before, but your partners interrupted. Have you heard the news? Theodore Gilden is dead. Do you have anything to say?
Well, what a shock. To me, he was an angry old ogre. Good riddance. Was it Goliath that killed him? Did it crush him? Break his bones? Come on, tell me. I want all the details.
You have an unusual way of showing grief. Imogen wouldn't appreciate that. But yes, the animal could have been involved.
It's poetic in a way, isn't it? It takes a beast to kill a monster. I wish I could have been that elephant.
What were you doing this morning, Miss Perks?
Don't call me that. I'm a champion. I was sailing.
The other club members told me that you missed the race this morning. Do champions not need to practice?
You've talked with them already. No, I wasn't racing. I visited the doctor after that attack on me. And then I had to honor the deal with the bandits you just took care of.
This business of yours, you should be more careful. Ruining your life at such a young age is ridiculous.
I am careful. Except for you, no one has noticed where I store the smuggled goods. If the police arrive, there's no link to me. It's common storage, not exclusively mine. I don't know what you're suggesting.
You smuggle illicit psychotropes on your yacht. Not a delivery for the hospital, I'm sure.
Of course not. I've had to cut corners to earn some money. How might a person afford to pay for a yacht in an honest way? I don't know, although I'm smart. The buyers are my customers. Adults who are willing to pay for their pleasure, or weapons for jewels. Whatever they want me to deliver. Nothing criminal.
Well, it's your lucky day. I'm not here because of smuggling. Have you tasted this tea yourself?
I wouldn't have been a champion if I had used it. It's just a side business that keeps my career afloat. It's quite expensive to compete in yachting. Sometimes I cut corners.
Such as fixing whirlpool yourself?
Exactly. And sometimes I just have to pay. That's how I earn money. I don't sell slaves or take the last mangear from a poor family.
Look what I found. A box full of darts.
Hey, that's mine.
I confiscated it. These darts appear to be filled with something. Poison? How powerful is it?
It's strychnine. Enough to instantly kill a small rodent. I haven't tried it on a human. Yet. I hope you know what you're doing.
Could it immobilize a larger animal, say, an elephant?
I've never tried, but I have wondered.
It seems as though Theodore Gilden hung a sword of Damocles over your life and career. Were these only words, or something more serious?
Check my forearm. Pulled muscles and bruises. Small cuts. Nothing that you could call serious.
I doubt that a man in his late 50s could wrestle you.
It wasn't him. He behaved like a rat and hired brutes. His boys tried to lock my hands behind my back, but I was faster and I escaped.
Was he so protective of his daughter, or was it your feminine secret that provoked him?
My guess is that he was protecting his property. As he saw it, he owned Imogen, and he treated her like a piece of furniture. He didn't want his daughter to be loved by anyone. What's more painful is that Theodore didn't allow me to love his daughter. Typical.
I'm not sure that your relationship with Imogen could be described as typical.
Are you afraid of a woman in trousers? Now that's typical of men.
A charming picture. I've heard that champions do often pose with their trophies.
Cheeky. It is a lovely trophy, though. I'm sure you will agree.
What is it that you like most about her? Her naivety? Her father's money?
A somewhat difficult choice. Especially now that her father is out of the equation.
Imogen doesn't strike me as an industrious young lady, so I find it strange that she was busy packing up all her belongings when Mr. Gilden died. That's some favorable wind in your sails, isn't it?
Is it so suspicious that a couple might embark on a trip? I wanted to thank her, so we planned to go traveling. A Theodore-free place, without elephants.
The timing of it is suspicious, however. Your lady friend becomes an orphan and heir, and there's a planned trip directly afterwards.
An improvised romantic dinner will never please a spoiled girl. A planned voyage might. It's not spur of the moment.
Does this knife seem familiar? I didn't find it in your competitor's back, to be clear.
This knife is as blunt as your humor. It's a bosun's knife, but it's not mine. I wouldn't be so careless as to mislay my tools.
What can you tell me about the elephant?
He's smarter than some people here, including his owner. Although I feel he could be dangerous, no matter how much he's fed.
Why is that? Have you ever seen Goliath attack anyone?
Well, not exactly. But I saw it, abusing some poor tree during one of its walks with Theodore. The expression on that old ninny's face was priceless. But it wasn't funny to look at. Believe me, it was frightening.
A. Swift. Are you familiar with this name? The gentleman had business with Mr. Gilden.
Likely just another strange and wrinkled fellow like old Gilden was. Perhaps this Swift person has a rhino, and they wanted to see which pet was stronger. In other words, I don't know who he is, but I bet he's crazy like Theodore.
I doubt that Cordona has ever boasted a battle arena for that size of mammal. You have an interesting imagination.
I don't know what you're suggesting. I don't know what this means. I'm clueless. I'm clueless. I don't know what you're suggesting.
Between yachts, darts, and notes from bandits, I've discovered many fascinating facts about you. But this, an installment of Nabe and Laura's adventures. Why did you sully your library with this?
It's a gift from Imogen. I didn't buy it. I might have turned a couple of pages, but nothing more. I swear.
I will give you the benefit of the doubt, but your literary taste has put you on my blacklist. It might fool an elephant.
Stop loitering.
This fabric will work.
Mrs. Nini seemed to know her sewing inside out. I bet she missed us.
I hope Miss Nini won't misunderstand me. Good day, madam. I've come to you with a special requirement. The tailors on the street can't help me, I'm afraid. Could you make a doll for me?
Oh, Senor Holmes. You taught the police how to do their job, and they found the thief. Of course I will help you. But what sort of doll? A child's doll, such as my great niece might play with?
A little larger than your typical doll.
Signore, I don't understand. Boy, girl, animal, and what color?
Animal, a passionate, perhaps amorous animal.
Ah, signore, you talk in riddles. I am an old lady who's seen it all. Tell me what you need.
I need a life-size elephant.
I think Mrs. Nini outdid herself with this one. Is that a tail?
That's a trunk, John, but I must agree with you that it's a masterpiece.
Well, let's not waste any time.
The game is on.
So, what's the plan? I hope it all doesn't go horribly wrong.
We know that the elephant is seeking a female. We can arrange that. A doll with the appropriate scent might do miracles.
So you're a marriage broker. Well, I suppose that makes me a groomsman. Phew, she is a bit breezy, I must say.
Well, Goliath is eager for a single female elephant in his area. It should be just enough for his taste. You'll need to trust me.
Are we ready? I can't stand the tension.
We're ready. Let's call the elephant.
How could anyone resist? I knew a lady once who said just that. Too bad I'm not an elephant. Take your time, Sherry. That deserves a slap. And then a kiss.
And here's our lovesick friend.
What is the meaning of this? Why are you bringing it here? I won't allow you to leave it.
I assure you that it is only a temporary measure. It won't be long until the elephant is gone, I promise you. It injured itself while running through the forest. There's something in the needle. A feathered fletching. This might be promising. Peaceful and compliant, almost a gentleman. The left tusk is larger and more worn. You're a left-tusked elephant. Did it feel good killing Theodore Gilden after the humiliation and threats?
What? I thought you were blaming Goliath for that.
No, I think you killed Theodore Gilden. Goliath is, unfortunately, a victim of circumstance.
I'm far better than to kill Gilden. Believe me.
You were at the crime scene at the precise moment when Gilden died.
I was not. I was visiting the doctor after the attack on me.
Ah, of course, where no one saw you. That's an inconvenience. But in any case, the person who was there met the rage of the elephant. One was struck by the gate with such impact that they were thrown into the shed. The knife fell out. The bruises on your elbow match the contour of the hole in the shed.
But I told you where my bruises came from.
And I heard you, but you didn't catch my words. A bosun's knife was found there, a very specific tool commonly used in your field.
That's only your assumption. I was never there. I mean, I was, but not when this happened.
You see, I managed to capture the elephant. Goliath had a dart stuck in his hide, similar to the ones that you use to kill rodents. My guess is that you used Goliath. A dart can kill a mouse or human, but for an elephant, it's not enough. Strychnine is a powerful stimulant and convulsant. Once the drug was in the bloodstream, Goliath became extremely agitated and so blinded by the flow of energy that he killed his owner.
And my dart is responsible for that. I'd rather use my hands.
Yes, there would have been fewer variables, but after the attack on you, your condition didn't allow for a direct confrontation. So, you used what you had.
That's not what happened. Anyone might have the same set of darts as I do. They're not expensive.
But not everyone knew Theodore and had access to his property. I can understand why you killed Mr. Gilden. He saw you with his daughter. He checked up on you, yachtsman, smuggler, and a woman. He went so far as to hire some thugs to attack you. Theodore knew your weakness, your career. He forced you into a corner. You're a survivor. You were prepared for the worst, but Theodore surpassed even your worst-case scenario. So you responded accordingly.
I've earned everything myself. Every victory, every trophy, every mangir. I achieved all of it without murder. I don't need to kill in order to win.
And you weren't afraid that he would reveal your secret to the owner of the yacht club or your competitors?
I can control my fear. Trust me, I wouldn't have become a professional athlete otherwise.
I revealed many truths and lies concerning Gilden. One banal fact is that he was a bitter and angry man who acted according to his own desires and impulses. Such people are dangerous, they are unpredictable, and value their own comfort more than anything and anyone. The same as you, Paul.
Are you out of your mind?
You're a gambler, smuggler, and actor. You indulge your self-importance. Such egocentricity and impulsivity is frightening. I won't allow you to play with someone else's life. You are under arrest.
Wait. At least tell Imogen. Tell her where I am.
I think she deserves a space without you. I've heard you can gamble on racing in prison, only it's rat racing. No yachts. Goodbye, Paul.
Why did you pick my Paul? Out of all the people on this island. Just when I needed someone I could rely on.
Believe me, I saved you. I found the true murderer. Would you really choose to live with the person who took your father's life?
You took away the pillar I was relying on. Paul was my only hope. You've destroyed it.
It was Paul who destroyed it, not me. I was merely the fact-checker who discovered the real culprit. And now about that elephant.
Oh yes, Goliath. You did nothing about it. I had to deal with it. Fortunately, there was a real man wanting to help me. He agreed to buy Goliath and relocate him to his property.
I suppose I must congratulate you.
I'd rather you leave. But first, here are my father's belongings. Some of them have information about your mother. Take them and leave me be.
I appreciate it, Miss Gilden. I assure you, I only wanted to find the true perpetrator.
Perhaps. Or perhaps you found a convenient scapegoat. Goodbye.
I truly hope you meet more honest people in the future. Take care. My mother always wore this around her neck until one day it disappeared. I was wondering where it went. She said it was a birthday present from a good friend. I just had another glimpse of a memory, John. It's fuzzy, but I'm sure it happened somewhere in the manor.
Finally moving forward. Shall we go?
Another one. There must be something important behind it. I can feel it. I had a surprise for my mother. You had a shovel with you, John. I was holding an ancient Greek vase, or rather, quite a big piece of it. I remember now, we dug up the vase from Greek ruins here on Cordona, and were eager to show my mother right away. Another one. For some reason, the door was closed. We knocked.
But nobody answered. We thought that she was busy.
So we left the vase and ran downstairs. I decided to gather some archaeological tools in order to take a closer look at the vase.
But then we heard something, didn't we?
Yes. It came from upstairs.
The vase was broken, shards scattered all over the floor. And your mother was standing at the door.
Indeed, John. I doubt it was her. Let me concentrate. Otto Richter was standing there, furious at us. Dr. Richter told us never to disturb my mother when the door is closed. He said she had broken the vase.
But we didn't believe him. I bet he smashed it. Her things are still here.
Presumably Mycroft never felt the need to sort through it all.
Or couldn't bring himself to.
No. He would have put it behind him and moved on. My brother is not one for sentimentality. It's a strange feeling to read about my father's death in the newspaper. I can't recall anything except the deep feeling of loss.
You were too young. It happened before we even met. It's so sad. I'm sorry.
No labels. I doubt it ever had one. There appear to be residues of the bottle's contents at the bottom.
Do you think the doctor could have used these tools here? I hope not.
This picture was drawn by my mother. I recognize her hand. There's a date on it, 8th of December, 1868. This seems a bit odd. I can recognize my mother's style, but it's far too sloppy. Dated 12th of February, 1869. It's difficult to tell what this is meant to represent. There's no date at all. Straps on the bed. It just doesn't look right. Seems this was the most frequently used medication. 1 dram dissolved in a glass of water, administered daily. Not to exceed 1 dose in 24 hours, not to be given to children.
Oh, I would love to take a bath right now.
Not this one. Surface corrosion suggests it was prone to extreme temperature fluctuations. For medical purposes, I suppose. My mother loved flowers. They made her smile. I remember we would bring a new bouquet every week to make her a bit happier.
That's why we collected all the violet flowers we could find on the island. Look what I found! The White King is under attack. Sherry, can you save him and checkmate the opponent in 1 move? You're not obliged to be here, Sherry. We can leave any time you want.
This room always reeked with an acrid medicinal stench. And here is the reason.
Oh, nice move. You saved the king and checkmated the Black King with the rook.
perfect match. My small archive of crime clippings. Maybe I should pick up this habit again. Made of cherry wood, father's favourite. Still has a faint odour of tobacco, one of the few things on this island that smell like home.
I knew you'd find it in no time.
I don't believe you! Liars! Get away from me! It's not true! It's not real!
What? Oh.
Everything will be okay, Sherry. I promise.
It was the morning of the 9th of April, the day my mother died. My mother, she was not just ill, but mad. God have mercy.
I'm sorry. That explains why you locked the memory away.
There must be more, John. That was the morning of her death. I need to know what happened. John!
Every time you... I just don't... Please, Sherry, leave it be.
Just breathe, John. You know that I cannot leave the last stone unturned. We are so close.
I know. But can we at least leave it for another day?
Well, history tells us these memories are triggered by our investigation of other matters. I suspect it could not be forced even if I so desired.
Thank you. How are you feeling about all this? Tell me, I'm not the only one reeling.
In the end, little has changed. My mother was still unwell, just not with tuberculosis. What I do not yet understand is why Mycroft lied about it. There are precious few pieces of this puzzle remaining, John. Let us dawdle here no longer.
Indeed. Wait. Did you hear that?
Yes. Metallic soles. What is this sailor doing here?
Sherlock Holmes, isn't it? Oh,
With whom do I have the pleasure of speaking?
you could call me your new game. The rules are simple. I have something for you, but you alone must work out what that is.
And that something is my prize, I suppose?
You're a fast learner, sir.
cannot believe that Mr. Vogel has somehow successfully called my attention to his gallery. You're here with an invitation to visit it, obviously.
My word, you are fast, Mr. Holmes. Could you explain how you came to that conclusion?
Of course. Explanations are my favourite part of any conversation. Hands without any sign of regular physical activity, in contradiction to one who would most usually wear such a uniform. The paint in your hair is pink. I don't know of any military service that paints their ships pink, unless they have launched a new fashionable fleet. A sailor with the soul of an artist? I would suggest rather a gallery employee disguised as a sailor to mislead me. How many artists on the island know where I live and of my passion for deduction? Werner Vogel is clearly at the top of the list. And you've been attempting to conceal something square-shaped within your pocket. An invitation, I suppose. An invitation to Mr. Vogel's gallery.
That was remarkable, Mr. Holmes. Mr. Vogel was right about your genius. I think he may have even underestimated you. This is your invitation. Please tell Mr. Vogel that the seed has been planted. He asked me to tell you to do so, if you win this little game. Farewell.
Mr. Holmes, you came. Oh, how kind. Though now, of course, I realize it is because of my game, not the works on display.
It needn't be one or the other. Your man's disguise was easily debunked, Mr. Vogel, but I shall admit that you planted in me the seed of curiosity.
Ah, terrific. I had no doubt you'd put the pieces together. Let us call it an opening gambit before the real game begins.
So, this little game of yours, what's it about?
An enigma to solve. A locked area in the basement with no windows found brutally vandalized. I have no clue how it was possible.
What about this intrusion? What happened?
Last night, I was about to leave the gallery when I heard a noise downstairs. I went to the basement, but I didn't see anything out of the ordinary. It was admittedly a rudimentary inspection. It is not uncommon to get rats down there, so seeing nothing of note, I left and locked up the building. When I returned this morning, alas, I discovered that part of the exhibition had been torched, and there was no sign of the intruder. The mystery being, of course, that all the doors to the gallery were locked exactly as I left them.
And the door to the basement is the only entrance?
Correct. Tell me you're not intrigued.
And this locked area downstairs, what exactly was it?
The under gallery. It's always shut, and I'm the only one with the key.
Ah, so this is your private collection, not part of the gallery.
Oh, no. It's an exclusive exhibition of eccentric pieces. Only a select cadre of artists, investors, and collectors are admitted. Not everyone deserves to have their eyes opened.
Well, this matter is certainly within my wheelhouse.
This intrusion troubles me. Please take a look around if you're willing. The under gallery is through the door at the end.
I will see what I see.
You sure you don't like art, Sherry? Back home, we've got a taxidermist. He's gonna have a heart attack when he sees what I bring him. Back home, we've got a taxidermist. He's gonna have a heart attack when he sees what I bring him. Sherry, how about some company in that dreary chamber of yours?
Leave my loneliness unbroken, John. A handprint of the thing from another world. But it looks fresh, and its coal origin ruins the effect of the extra mundane. Sodden and mould-ridden. One presumes deliberately. The parasites of creativity. Or just a reflection of the artist's recreational interests. Saturn devouring his sun. Oh, grim composition.
Unflinching in its ferocity, yet somehow beautiful.
Ugh, sheer vandalism. Only an ignorant person could do such a thing. A Malpal butt. Coal fingerprints. I think we're looking for a man with a coal moustache. Old, and hasn't been used for a long time. The left step's length is shorter than the right. It indicates that the walker was lame. Closed with a metal bolt. Footprints. Size 9.5. The intruder entered the basement through the coal chute. He used a magnet to open the hatch bolt. He accidentally pushed a shovel to the floor. Vogel heard the noise. At the sound of his approaching footsteps, the intruder hid inside the coffin. When Vogel entered the basement, he failed to notice anything strange and left without properly checking. The intruder waited until Vogel had left the caravanserai before burning the paintings in Wilde's room, but the vandalism was a cover for the theft. The pieces are not what I expected.
What do you think my collection is about?
Dozens of priceless works amassed simply for the sake of it and presented without care. It's not about the art, it's about excess, yes?
I don't know.
Well, that's absurd. Of course you know. It's your gallery.
There is no one answer, no singular truth, but many filtered through the subjective mind. That forgetting, embellishing, lying machine. Besides, what's wrong with a lie if it makes life more interesting?
What's wrong with a lie? It corrupts the ability of others to behave freely and rationally.
Men never act freely and rationally anyway. It matters not what is or isn't in the end. The only important thing is how you feel. And I simply want to feel and consume as much as I can. Don't you?
Feelings are simply one's animal ancestry trying to wrest back control of the brain. I try to avoid the distraction.
You try not to feel, even in a place like this? None of it moves you?
To be frank, I struggle to maintain even a whit of interest in art.
But Mr. Holmes, it is joy incarnate, mankind's greatest achievement.
Mankind's highest achievement above all others is objective and rational thought.
I see then why you dislike art, for it means whatever you want it to.
Or perhaps, Mr. Vogel, I was lying.
Aha.
Mr. Vogel, my investigation has revealed that the intrusion was not merely vandalism but theft. The limping visitor left your place with a canvas.
That's very impressive.
This thief was familiar with the gallery and he was sporting a limp. Do any of your clients or artists come to mind?
My, your attention to detail is remarkable, Mr. Holmes. I should introduce you to Bosch's works. Alas, I'm afraid I cannot suggest a culprit.
The fire was a clever attempt to hide a stolen painting, even if it didn't fool me. I found the remnants of an empty frame in the pile of ashes. The canvas had been removed. Do you know which paintings in the Wild Room may have interested a thief? Were any particularly expensive?
Those pieces belong to a well-known artist named Boniface Mercurio. They're controversial, but not of a notably high value.
The intruder entered the basement through the coal chute. He used a magnet to open the latch and dislodged the shovel while doing so. That's the noise you heard yesterday. When you went downstairs to investigate, he hid in the coffin.
It seems I should have checked the space more thoroughly.
There's something more, is there not? I can see it in your eyes.
Indeed. There is another intriguing angle. I recently received an anonymous offer for one of Mercurio's works. The sum was more than fair, and indeed could have saved Mercurio from his artistic poverty. But he declined it.
Was it a performative whim? Some artists lionize pain and hardship as if their work would be worse after a meal and a hot bath.
I cannot tell. But not only did he refuse the deal, he insisted on displaying the painting in the public space. I was hoping to change his mind, but artists are a special breed of stubborn.
So where can I find Boniface Mercurio?
I know he lives somewhere in Old City, but couldn't be more specific. He's a prominent figure, so finding him shouldn't be a problem.
What was depicted in the piece?
A bound woman, wrapped in robes, being penetrated by a red devil that stared at us, the viewer. The beast had numerous tails growing from his back, and a large crowd gathered around the pair, silently watching the orgiastic scene.
Okay, well, given the nature of the other works on display, it's hard to see why that one stood out. What could possibly be its value?
The evaluation of art is very subjective, Mr. Holmes. After all, art is everything. A poem, a bruise, the beads of sweat on your beloved skin. Even a masterfully solved crime.
I'm not sure I see the connection.
Regardless, the painting was one of a series called The Sabbath Night in Cordona. The works depict sex, violence, and other controversial acts that life, for better or worse, contains.
Ah, I see.
I'm not sure that you do, but that can wait for another time.
Well, I believe I have enough to begin. Thank you, Mr. Vogel. Your gallery certainly has unexpected depths.
I'm delighted to have been able to please a friend. In return, I expect you to come back with good news, or at least with a good story.
Mr. Holmes, I have something for you. Mr. Holmes, I see what you're up to. Mysterious stranger pursues betrothed woman. But please, let us keep things professional. I have in my possession an envelope containing details of a special assignment for you. Tell me, are you interested?
Miss Sertle, I am not pursuing you, and I am not pursuing further work at the minute.
Well, it shall wait for you here. Do come back. It's quite something. Mississippi.
Excuse me, young man. Where do you think you're going?
Greetings, ma'am. I'm looking for the...
I don't care who you're looking for. You shall not pass. No visitors allowed.
I wish to buy a painting from Mr. Boniface Mercurio. Is he at home?
Dearie, tell me, because old age has made me blind. Did someone write Information Bureau on my forehead? Because I'm not here to answer your questions. Entry is for residents only. If you aren't a resident, please leave, or I shall report you to the police.
Nice affordable
Don't miss out on the
clothes.
best
Let's pick
carpets
something
on the
that suits you.
island.
A good choice. A good choice.
Don't
indeed.
miss out on the best carpets. On the island.
Boniface, sweetie. Is that you? Ah, old age does terrible things to one's sight. I didn't recognize you at first.
How are you, ma'am? I'm ashamed to admit that I've lost my key. Do you have a spare?
For heaven's sake! How many times will you lose that key of yours? Of course I have a spare. You artists all live in your own little world.
Please, accept my thanks.
I would rather accept your rent. You promised to pay me several weeks ago, and I'm still waiting.
I will pay you, I promise, very soon.
You'd better do, my dear. Or else I'll just change the lock. And I won't fall for those cow eyes.
The chest has been searched. Red skin, tails on the back. Reminds me of Werder's description of the stolen painting. I wonder where he got that fancy camera. Despite the overall tendency towards mess, you cannot sit with the drawer pulled out like this. Someone left it after searching. It appears the wine was truly awful. The blood has dried.
I've heard of this style of painting. It is called expressionism.
The photograph was not pulled out in time. Such a waste of material. Look at this, John. Isn't it our stolen demon? Judging by post-mortem rigidity, the body lay here for 1 or 2 days. The wound is precise. It was inflicted by a razor or a knife. Soaked in blood. It seems as if the puddle of blood was here before the rags. A normal kitchen knife. Could be the murder weapon. Mercurio was developing photographs when the intruder snuck in. Mercurio heard him coming. While the thief was searching the chest, the painter ran towards him with a bottle in his hand. He smashed it across the thief's head. The intruder had no choice but to defend himself, and the weapon of opportunity happened to be a kitchen knife. Mercurio stepped aside to grab the painting, but the wine-blinded thief attacked Mercurio's throat. When the thief came to his senses, he saw Mercurio bleeding on the floor. He grabbed the rags and tried to bandage him, but it was too late. Why did Mercurio attempt to snatch the painting in the middle of a fight? To strike the intruder? Not with his painting, it was too important to him.
That doesn't look like the painting we need, Sherry.
As expected, but that doesn't mean it won't tell us anything. Let's put it on the easel where it belongs. I guess this is his most ordinary painting. Spot the two differences, John? If the intruder didn't take it, the skull should be somewhere here. Monster was actually a man. Poor girl. John, you ought to be thrilled. We are now hunting the devil himself.
What were you saying, Sherry? I was too busy sketching the scene, you know, crimes and such like, daily routine. Did you find something?
A photograph. It depicts a man in a red suit with tails sprouting from his back and multiple people in masks watching the scene. It all adds up. But the act of love, it wasn't given willingly, John. It was a violation. And the girl, she was with child.
Give that to me now. Did you recognize someone?
No. Although the victim is not from Cordona, she is African. Look at the ritual scars on her face.
Get that image out of your brain. You have to continue the investigation.
I must speak to the landlady. Perhaps she saw or heard something.
Sherry, you cannot tell her the truth about Mercurio. It will hurt her.
John, that's illogical. Sooner or later, she will come here and discover a corpse, and I still need to talk to her.
Just avoid mentioning corpse, all right? Stick to the character, tell her to call the police.
I'll take that into account.
And wait here. I've redrawn the people in the photograph. Now you can proceed with your investigation without those horrific details.
What's wrong, dear? You look like you've seen a ghost.
Can you tell me if anyone else has recently entered the flat?
Oh, you're talking about that limping man. I'm sorry I let him in. I was scared. And I thought maybe he would motivate you to find money so that you would pay your rent. No offense, dear.
Can you describe him?
Oh, so you weren't at home. I was so certain you didn't leave your flat that day. He was of average height, had a limp and a tattoo on his neck, and he was smoking Malpal cigarettes. My husband used to smoke those. They have a horrible smell I can recognize from a mile away.
Can I ask a favor?
Of course, dearie.
Please call the police and ask them to enter the flat, and don't look inside until they come up.
What? What trouble have you stepped in this time?
It really doesn't matter. Thank you, Mum.
Phew, Sherry, that was close. But you did everything correctly. Now, take off your outfit. I can't let you walk around in a dead man's clothes.
Beasts!
Murder! Beasts!
May I ask you something?
Oh, sir, I'm afraid I don't know about that.
Murderers!
They're completely livid.
First they come to our land, then they murder our people.
Drop them all into this... Sir, this place is off limits to the public. Please state your business or leave, or I shall request that the police escort you out.
My name is Sherlock Holmes. I'm a private investigator. I'm looking for a witness for a case.
A private investigator? Really? Even so, you're not authorized. I can't let you in.
And you are?
I'm Ronald Harlow, here to handle the refugee situation on behalf of City Hall. I'm the acting supervisor here, so I have full authority here to ask you to leave, or I shall order the police to detain you for trying to pass the blockade. Please, step back.
What about the murder that this crowd keeps shouting about?
It's mere assumption. I assure you that the situation is under the police's control.
I know you want to deal with this in the right way. You are obviously a professional and a responsible person, but you clearly have never handled a situation like this before.
I am handling it, Mr. Holmes. Don't question my capability here.
And tell me how you do it. You can't even calm this gathered crowd, and as for the police, they're not quite managing it either, are they? You consider yourself a problem solver, but until today, you've been solving problems sitting at your desk in a dark corner of a city hall room. Here, you need a more practical approach.
What are you driving at, Mr. Holmes?
I can help you to handle the situation if you're truly interested in solving things quickly and quietly.
And how exactly would you manage that?
Simply tell the police that I'm with City Hall and I'm permitted to investigate the scene. I'll work out the rest, but in return I need your help finding my witness. She's a young refugee. She's with child or was with child recently.
Look, there is indeed a dead body inside the camp. So even if the girl you are looking for is there, all the refugees are now being detained and interrogated by the police. They won't allow you to speak with her, and I can't do anything about that until the situation settles down.
So it's in our mutual interest to settle it.
Oh. I suppose that things are bad enough that I ought not shy away from help. All right, Mr. Holmes. I'll tell the police to allow you to come inside. Just tell me when you're ready.
Mr. Harlow, how did the refugees end up here exactly?
Oh, so you're not from around here yourself?
I've been away for some time, but I read the papers.
Yes, this whole story has been in the papers for almost a year now. They were smuggled to Cordona on a ship from Africa.
Smuggled? Then why didn't you deport them?
The smugglers managed to sneak them to shore and hide them inside an abandoned warehouse. When the police raided the warehouse and found the refugees there, the ship was already gone. We aren't even certain as to which ship it was. We have busy shipping routes with other colonies these days, you see.
So you decided to lock them up under a bridge?
There is no other option. We're still trying to work out what to do with them. I only hope we'll find a humane solution and not put them on a raft and float them out to sea.
Mr. Harlow, what exactly do you do here? What are your responsibilities?
What I do and what I am responsible for are two different realities, Mr. Holmes. On paper, I am in charge of the camp territory, security, provision, and the refugees in general. What I actually do most of the time is knock on every City Hall door trying to obtain some funding, or at least rations for the camp.
The police here on City Hall's behalf too?
They are, minus those who came here after the body was found. The governor won't let the refugees disperse into the island, so there's a significant police presence guarding the camp. Naturally, they answer directly to the police. I have some influence here, but I'm not their direct authority.
I'm ready to take a look at the scene.
All right. Go inside the camp and find Inspector Tewkesbury. He's the officer investigating the scene. Tell him I sent you. Say you're an independent expert from City Hall. He'll fill in the details for you.
I'll find my way with words. Thank you, Mr. Harlow.
Beasts!
So they keep these refugees under a bridge like proverbial trolls. No wonder the people outside are so disturbed.
Who the hell are you? How did you get in here?
Mr. Ronald Harlow let me in, sir. I'm Sherlock Holmes, a surveyor of refugee affairs with City Hall. You're Inspector Tewkesbury, I presume?
A surveyor? What does that even mean?
In short, I've been sent to conduct an extensive report on the incident for the Colonial Office, and to assess all the damage inflicted on state property.
Got it. Another paperworm sent to count money and get food for archive mold. Go on, look around, but don't make yourself too at home. As if I didn't have enough problems before you appeared.
Could you first tell me what happened here?
What happened? People from the bridge above the camp heard a woman screaming and saw a mass of refugees attacking a man. Clearly not a refugee. When the camp guards came by, the man was floating in the sewage canal with a knife in his chest. Bam. A murder. Big news for Cordona.
I'm sure. Thank you, Inspector. Did you learn anything about the dead man?
The fellow looks like a thug. I've had dozens like him fished out of the sea over the past 20 years. Ever since these refugees arrived, there have been people on Cordona with bad blood in them. My best bet is that this thug had something against them too.
And no clue as to his identity?
He had some items on his body, but nothing to indicate who he was or where he was from.
I think I should catalogue his possessions in my records.
Go on. They're on the table near the body.
And none of the refugees were harmed?
One fellow was cut. He's lying over there near their kitchen. He's in a bad way.
You mentioned a woman screaming who attracted the bypassers on the bridge. Was she harmed?
No, she's all right, but perhaps the whole debacle started because of her. She started wailing and the refugees stood up for the girl.
And where is this young woman now?
Back there in the shacks, same as the rest of the refugees. She's been questioned by my men, but she's just some refugee girl. Can't understand much English.
Do you have any suspects yet?
You're joking, right? I've got a whole camp full of suspects. And if you ask me, this bloke had it coming. Better bury him and forget about the whole thing. And now there's a crowd gathered at the camp, and my superiors say we must thoroughly interrogate the refugees. At least those who can understand any English.
Do you believe that your superiors wish to get rid of the refugees?
I think that both our superiors would rather keep the story quiet. Since that's an unaffordable luxury now, they're looking how to protect their public image. That's why I have to waste my time waiting for my people to turn every stone and befriend every refugee.
Here we go again. Number of hours on Cordona before stumbling upon another dead body? 0. These events have fractured into so many pieces. But I know you can collect them all, Sherlock.
Malpal, soaked with salt water. £1,000. A fair sum, especially considering British currency isn't very common in Cordona. A simple leather sheath. Perfect for a dirk. May I ask for your assistance?
Nothing I can tell you, sir, but others might know more.
Oh, carnelian agate beads, a traditional African adornment. The blood sprayed off the blade after the strike. No hint of blood or impact. It might have been used as an improvised weapon.
Such a mess. Let's figure it out.
He is in shock, feverish and dehydrated. The cut is deep, potentially serious if not treated immediately.
Sherry, you know first aid. Surely you have a duty to help this man. You can't leave him to certain death. I think we can find all we need here in the camp. Let's have a good look around.
Someone was dragged against their will. A furrow in the ground. A blood trail leading to or from the canal. Clearly a left handprint here. Coal dust under the nails. I don't see much coal around here. A steel dirk, sharp. A common accessory among sailors and soldiers. I'd say the blade penetrated upward, however the wound is too messy to be certain. An interesting tattoo. Does it mean something? Heavy boots, with one sole far more worn than the other. This man was limping, John. A violent death. But this man, limping. Coal dust. I think we're onto something here, John.
Such a mess. Let's figure it out.
Nobody will know anything if you keep your bloody mouth shut.
The coppers smell fishy here, Shep. Sherry, just look at this. Living quarters in a sewer. What kind of a genius bureaucrat came... We have seen some dark places in Cordona, but this...
A man's footprint. Police boots. Always happy to trample evidence. A heavy boot with a worn-out sole. A fresh crack, as if the crate was hit recently. Someone bled profusely here. You know what? I'd like to understand.
What?
How did our dead man end up inside the camp in the first place? It's unlikely anyone could get in or out of the camp by water without alerting the police guards. Just washed. Better than nothing to bandage the wound.
These events are fractured into so many pieces. But I know you can collect them all, Sherlock.
Nausea and stomach pain is not what he needs now.
We have seen some dark places in Cordona, but this...
I can use this to stop the infection from spreading. I've collected all the ingredients, now to prepare the first aid solution.
Thank you.
This should make you feel better, my friend. Now remain lying down and drink as much water as you can.
Well done, Sherry. At least he won't die from the infection.
Sealed shut. I doubt our man could get through these grates. No, it's too short for these walls or cliffs. A single Malpal butt. Roadman's cigarettes. A brand highly regarded by law enforcement officers. So there wasn't any sophisticated infiltration plan. The good old police just let the man into the camp. Now we have everything we need to get the full picture of what happened at the camp. So, we have a thug who came to take a refugee woman with him. She resisted, but he dragged her by force. One of the refugees stood in his way, armed with a stick, yet he could do nothing against a cutthroat with a blade. The man didn't anticipate that the other refugees would intervene and stand against him. In the confusion, the woman managed to break free. The thug took fright and fled. He was stopped by the falling crates. He stumbled and fell, piercing his chest with his own blade. However, the wound didn't cause instant death. He managed to stand, but still bleeding, he lost his balance on the bridge and fell. Before all of this, the man had freely entered the camp through the main entrance. The police admitted him after they had a short smoke together.
You live by the sword, you die by the sword. In our man's case, it's the same sword.
Mr. Harlow, your refugees didn't murder anyone.
What? Pray tell me what you've learned.
All right, listen carefully. This might solve one problem for you, but will create a few more.
Oh, well, that's a great start.
The man came to the camp intending to kidnap one of your refugees, a woman. What he didn't expect was that the refugees would stand up to protect the woman. A brawl had broken out. In the chaos of it, the man stumbled over those crates and fell on his own blade.
How do you know he fell on his own blade?
The wound in his chest was inflicted from an unusual angle. It was not an offensive stab, shall we say. The refugees didn't touch him. And judging by the blood at the scene, the intruder managed to raise himself but was unable to walk very far. He ultimately fell into the canal.
But how did he sneak into the camp? Why didn't the police see him?
And this is where your new problems emerge, Mr. Harlow.
What do you mean?
You're not a dull-witted man. You know what I mean. There is no feasible way to get into the camp without the police guards knowing of it.
The pile of mess I had to sort out has just become bigger, but somehow that doesn't surprise me. Anyway, I thank you for your help, Mr. Holmes. I'll take it from here. Meanwhile, I'll make sure the police aren't detaining the refugees any longer. You can go back in and look for your witness.
You think one small clerk can make any difference in this place?
Who knows, John? Just one ill-fitting cog could make the whole machine crumble.
You're the one who tended to our man's wounds. I thank you greatly. The police didn't allow us to help him.
The police will leave you alone now. I've proven to them that the man who came into the camp died due to his own foolishness.
Thank you for standing up for us. But nobody would help us without a reason. You're here because you want something.
Yes, I do. I need to speak with the girl drawn here.
The dead man came for her too. He wanted to take the girl away, but we won't allow her to be hurt again. What do you want from Nayla?
Nayla. She was hurt some time ago. I'm here to find the people who did this and bring them to justice. And to find them, I need Nayla's help. Will you let me speak to her?
Justice. There's no justice on this land. But you helped us, so maybe your words are not empty. You can speak to Nayla, if she wants it. But I will be watching you.
Hello, Nayla? My name is Sherlock. I know someone hurt you. I am here to help. I'm trying to find the people involved and bring them to justice. Please. There is a photograph, and I'm sorry, it is terrible, but I simply must ask. Where did this happen? What can you tell me about these people? Christ, Sherlock. Nayla, I'm sorry. I'm not very good at this.
You come here for me, but you are rude and cruel and condescending. A cross. The man had this cross. Now go away. Leave us be. I do not need another white man's help.
Oh, glad that wasn't me.
Not my best work, John, by a long shot. Nayla doesn't want us meddling. I'm starting to wonder what this all achieves.
But she helped you anyway. Now we know that maniac's face and the cross he wore, we can still catch him.
You still here?
The guards at the sewers were speaking about taking refugees out of the camp. Do you know anything about this, Inspector?
Less than you do, obviously.
And this doesn't bother you as an officer of the law?
I can neither punish them nor put them on the right track, if that's what you're asking. Maybe your friends at City Hall could do something about it, but I seriously doubt that. To be honest, I'm sick and tired of being frowned on for my uniform. If those fine gentlemen you've eavesdropped on are in some shady business, that's on their heads.
The intruder has a most peculiar tattoo on his neck, 2 lines and a point. Do you know anything about it?
You really want to know, kid? Why? You want to play a policeman or something?
I'm sure you have it in your records, so it won't hurt if I have it in mine.
In my records, it's just a tattoo, as it should be in yours. Ah, to hell with you. Suit yourself as to what you're going to do with it. Off the record, though, such tattoos are often connected to a man named Mr. Niccolo Bernadotti.
Bernadotti, you say?
A respectable businessman in Scaladio. His company imports goods and wines, and smuggles everything that can be smuggled between the colonies and the mainland. His people can be identified by an obscure tattoo, just like the one over there our friend has. But these are all merely rumors, you see. If Mr. Bernadotti was a criminal, he'd be in prison now. Or hanged, right?
Excuse me, just one question.
They often take us from the camp to work. Most don't mind, though. It's the only way to get a glimpse of freedom.
So there's a smuggling ring in the camp. This wasn't the first time that someone freely entered the camp to take a refugee out.
At least it was certainly his last time. My gut tells me that we'll learn more about this ring when we find out where the thug came from.
Do you know anything about this?
Sorry, we don't see much here.
These workers don't look like your average Cordona folk.
They're refugees from the camp.
That's all. You go talk to that beef. I'll sneak up from behind and take him out.
Hey, yo. This is private property. You lost something.
I'm here to discuss business with Mr. Bernadotti. I tried the front door, but...
Mr. Bernadotti isn't seeing anyone. You have 3 seconds to walk away or you'll never walk again. Capito?
It's in Mr. Bernadotti's best interest to...
1.
Listen, the man Bernadotti sent to...
2.
Well, this has been miserable.
Sherlock, think. We know what the fellows from the gang look like. You can easily blend in.
Get out.
I did try to resolve this peacefully.
I'm coming for you.
How do you do?
I'm coming.
Take a rest, my friend.
Coming. I'm coming for you.
Oh, don't give him the pepper snuff.
Coming. I couldn't miss the party. I will end you.
May I? No more crime for you.
The snuff's ready.
Don't bother moving.
Give him the pepper snuff.
Take this!
So you're weaken him first.
I'm coming for you.
No more crime for you.
The snuff's ready.
Too simple.
Give him the pepper snuff. The snuff's ready.
I'm coming.
Give him the...
Don't bother moving. You've lost. Take a rest, my
The snuff's ready. So uncivilized, Sherlock. It would have been more fun to avoid all the fighting.
No, sir. Don't hurt me.
It's all right. I won't harm you.
Like you
An
didn't
amazing
harm the
piece of
folks on the way
culture.
here.
I imagine many collectors and museums would be interested in having it.
Is this?
Masks, traditional for the Chokwe people of Central Africa. A Dogon statue from West Africa. A century old at least. VH Grindley Flow Blue Tableware. This is what lies behind the facade of Bernadotte Company Limited.
Don't come any closer. One step and I'll shred you to pieces.
Keep standing in my way and no one will ever see you again.
Righto. Yes. Yep. Well, excuse me, sir. I think I hear... I've got to... It's better I leave.
Whoa. Oh, wow. That was as if somebody put my words in your mouth. This is it. This is where all the magic happens.
Please don't shoot me. I have a family. Spare me. Spare me. Spare me.
So, you've cut through all the guards just to talk to me. Then come here, and we shall talk. Whenever you're ready. I'd hate to intrude.
Bad news. The thug you sent to the refugee camp only succeeded in stabbing himself. His next and final journey will be to the morgue.
Hold your horses. Who the hell are you?
Sherlock Holmes. And you are Niccolo Bernadotte, a smuggler, kidnapper, and notorious cutthroat, among other things.
Few men would dare waltz into my office and address me like that. You are either overconfident or unintelligent. This is private property. Give me one reason why I should not shoot you on the spot. I am sure my friends at the station would call it self-defense.
As I said, your man was found dead in the refugee camp. He was there to kidnap a woman, but the other refugees intervened to try and save her. The ensuing scuffle resulted in the man's accidental suicide. He sported the same tattoo as your men in this building. In fact, it also bears a resemblance to the one on your neck. Care to explain what business your man had with this woman?
You have no idea what you are talking about. I can assure you this was no kidnapping. The refugees in the camp are on edge. What happened there is a tragic accident. One I am not responsible for.
For what reason was your man there if not to abduct her?
Why would I answer? You are yet to justify your presence in the slightest.
I was hired, privately, to investigate the recent theft of a painting from an art gallery. My investigation led me to a man from your organization, and thus, to you, Mr. Bernadotti.
That is quite a stretch. Why would I need to steal a painting when I could buy anyone I wanted? So this painting is why you broke into my office.
Mr. Bernadotti, do you know the name Boniface Mercurio?
I do not.
Mercurio was a local artist. Recently, a man broke into his apartment, ransacked the place, and killed him. The thief was looking for something.
You are testing my patience, boy.
In a moment, the connection will reveal itself.
So many words, so little action. When you barged into my office, Mr. Holmes, I got the impression you wanted to talk business. Now I see you had come just to talk. Tell me exactly what you want, or get out.
It was necessary groundwork for what comes next. I have enough evidence to conclude that the gallery thief, the artist's killer, and the dead man in the camp are all the same person.
Your time is almost up, Mr. Holmes.
Before you draw your gun, there is one final detail I am yet to mention. The young woman your man was tasked to collect from the refugee camp had been defiled at a perverse masquerade party. That violation was captured in a photograph by Boniface Mercurio and used as a reference for his painting. The photo shows the attacker's face.
Finally. That's why you're here, Mr. Holmes. You have the photograph.
It is what your man was after when he broke into Mercurio's apartment, and it is what you're after too, isn't it, Mr. Bernadotti?
You have the photograph with you. How much do you want for it?
I am not naive enough to carry it with me, and I am compelled to ask why you want it. Who is the man visible in the photograph? An associate?
Not yet, Mr. Holmes. Though with this picture, that may change. The man in the photo is a British envoy on Cordona.
What exactly do you want from him?
My business dealings are often arduous in their bureaucracy. A man in his position, willing to look the other way, could ease my work significantly. In return, I will make sure no one looks his way either. A favor for a favor.
Also known as blackmail, the modus operandi of any true professional.
It was not originally my idea. Mercurio set things in motion, extorting the envoy for the most trivial of ends. Money. In response, the envoy hired my man to retrieve the painting and the photograph, eliminating Mercurio's leverage. I only learned the whole story after the artist was killed in his home.
And rather than extricate yourself, instead you took over Mercurio's venture.
It fell into my lap. As a businessman, I simply seized the opportunity. Now, how much do you want for the image?
I could not help but appreciate the collection of smuggled artifacts in your storeroom. You have rather diversified your business.
Oh, high and mighty of you, Mr. Holmes. Not all smuggling is immoral. I pay generous rates to developing cultures and spread their culture to eager buyers. And furthermore, I supply many immigrants with a taste of home.
A very convenient way of thinking.
I have traveled widely, Mr. Holmes. I've seen people in far-flung lands for whom my services are a lifeline. Without them, they would starve. The tax on cargo is often so absurd that it would be more profitable to simply sink your ship than dock it in the harbor. And trust me, I am speaking from experience.
Why did you send your man to remove the woman from the camp?
Without a photograph, her testimony was the next best thing. Securing her was in everyone's interest. Victims and witnesses all too often disappear. I thought the girl was safer with us. I did not anticipate what would happen at the camp.
I saw refugees from the camp at your warehouse. They work for you.
I have made certain arrangements with City Hall and the police. Thanks to me, refugees can work and be paid. It's a pathway to freedom.
And how much do you save by capitalizing on their cheap labor?
I have heard no complaints. They seem happy just to get out of that slum.
Why should I give you the photograph?
Just name your price.
What if my price were not money? You claim to have connections, Mr. Bernadotte. Perhaps you could improve conditions for the refugees. Give them a chance for a better life.
Ha! I do have connections, Mr. Holmes, but help the whole camp? You are asking too much. I could, however, make arrangements for one person. The woman who was violated will have her own home outside the camp, solely for her and her child. She will no longer be a refugee, but a princess. That I can guarantee.
Is that really possible?
It will be neither fast nor easy, but I can do it. She deserves it, don't you agree? And as for her abuser, he will serve me, as much as he deserves.
So, in your plan, everybody will be given their due. Especially you, Mr. Bernadotte.
Seems like a fair deal, no? I doubt anyone could offer you better. Simply give me the photograph, and the world becomes a better place. I give you my word.
What makes you think you can decide what's best for these people?
Such is the arrogance of British imperialism. I take your point. Let's see what's hidden there. Vogel's stolen painting. Isn't it curious how it developed into a much more interesting case?
Mr. Holmes, you've returned. Have you uncovered anything new about the theft?
I've brought news, but not all of it will please you.
Fill me in, Mr. Holmes. I won't shoot the messenger.
I located the thief, but found him rather cold. He was tight-lipped about the painting, too.
Huh, he's dead. How very droll, Mr. Holmes. One presumes you were not responsible?
It was an accident at the refugee camp. He impaled himself on his own knife.
Life is nothing if not cruel and capricious.
I tracked down Boniface Mercurio.
I presume he wasn't delighted about the situation.
He was not having a good day on account of his murder. Killed in his own flat by the same person that stole his painting.
Oh, sweet Mercurio. Perishing in the pursuit of his art. How apt. I will miss his exceptional sense of humor. What about the stolen painting? Have you located it?
I found the painting, but I could not retrieve it.
Well then, where is it?
In Bernadotti's office.
Bernadotti? That shady businessman? Why would he steal it from me?
I'm afraid you'll have to ask him yourself.
I take it you found something more then.
I found the source of Mercurio's artistic inspiration. A photograph. What troubled me was that the sexual act captured was non-consensual.
She was violated? Dear God, how despicable.
Her abuser was in fact the British envoy. Mercurio took a picture of him committing the atrocity and then used it as artistic inspiration.
I had no idea a mere break-in would eventually expose such barbarity.
Mr. Vogel, I want you to make everything public, including the photograph. I'm sure you have a connection at the Cordona Chronicle.
Ah, Mr. Holmes. Loyal to your own truth till the end. Yes, I'm acquainted with the staff of the Chronicle. The story is sensational, and will surely draw attention to the gallery. But you must be aware that exposing the scandal will further hurt the victim. Does that not bother you?
No matter what one does, the truth tends to come out, as well it should. I won't be the one to stand in its way.
Though it's only your subjective truth being exposed. Not that I'm judging. It's perfectly reasonable for everyone to have their own views.
When you called me, you knew exactly what you would get.
Oh, but I'm not like you, Mr. Holmes. I cannot be sure of anything. Regardless, I must thank you, for art's sake. Well, now that we've resolved all of our outstanding matters, I have a gift for you. I took the liberty of having it delivered to Stonewood Manor. I am told it belonged to your mother.
And what exactly have you sent me?
Frankly, I'm not sure how to answer that. I trust you'll know.
Previously, you mentioned there may have been more to my mother's passing than consumption. It appears you were right.
Oh, dear. I'd hoped to be wrong.
She was unstable, mentally unwell. She required sustained, specialized treatment, but her madness persisted.
I knew that Violet had disappeared from the public eye, but had no idea of her suffering. I cannot imagine what you're feeling.
I'm fine. Thank you, Mr. Vogel. I am curious to see what you have procured.